Hey, it's Ed here, and today we're taking a look at technical analysis for Bitcoin with Elliott Wave Theory. Before getting into the analysis itself, I want to let you know that I have a Patreon where you can find Elliott Wave Basics course, access to weekly live streams, and more. Thank you for your support. Let's get into the analysis next. So starting here on daily time frame, the first thing that we want to be noting here is RSI. RSI is now already very oversold. This is generally either telling us two things. We have a lot of bearish divergences, all of these against these peaks, any peaks that we have. This is now taking out the highs that we had around the 69k area as well. And this is potentially first signals of some kind of higher degree move upwards already. This is definitely something that I was not expecting. This definitely can be part of the structures that we've been talking about previously, where we were looking into this as a bullish move upwards from the lows. But again, we have some issues on the very local time frame against that. So let's take a look at some of the counts that we have. Before the counts, actually, let's take a look at some trend channels that we have and the volume profile. Maybe I should actually just isolate these guys up. So this one, and this one, and let's get them here. So overall, what we got is that we had this channel coming downwards, where we now broke out of. Let's see, that's better. So this is again arithmetic scale. So this was again pivoted from these highs against these lows. We had support from here, validating basically the channel. More locally, we had a tap into the channel out, and we got consolidation right back into this value area low of this whole thing that we had coming from around June. And this is again the value area low, getting that support. We can see that this area was area of basically resistance before, and now we turned it into support. Now if we would come back to here, I'm not sure if this is going to be holding as support, but it definitely has that area of support now around it. Currently, where we pivoted again, we hit our heads against this point of control of this whole range from June again, and now we have established another range that we had confluence here at the same point. We had this upwards channel where we had pivot points from these two lows against this high here, and validating that channel again. Same is when we are tagging the upper trend line, similar that we had it tagging this trend line downwards here. So this is somewhat good looking thing. Overall, just geometry that we can see a lot, but again, here was a pretty decent short look overall in the markets. Overall, if we are looking at extension targets here as well, we see that we are right at the one-to-one extension of this move as well, which to some counts is definitely valuable. However, I'm not sure if this is going to be holding. We can see that volume profile is showing that we have a lot more volume here coming in, which is again why we are expecting this as a resistance currently. And we'll see if we can break this later on after some kind of consolidation, potentially going up again. With that idea of having that RSI again getting really high, this again has the potential of giving us some kind of way larger move than we are anticipating here more locally. But again, if we come back around the zone of bullish support here, we can be seeing another move up higher here on daily. But again, that is going to be taking a long time, same as we did here. So this is going to be taking potentially months. So we don't need to be focusing on that right now. Let's go through the counts that we actually had. Let's go to logarithmic scale just to see the structure better here. So one of the counts was that we had this as an ABC. This is still possible, completely possible. The downtrend overall that I think we are still having the highest highs on RSI here. So I don't think that we have burst through these again. So we still have some upwards momentum here that we can take until we have more of a confirmation that's okay, this is actually a beginning of something way larger. But more on that later, but let's just go through these now. Overall, three-way structure into potential wave W here. Yeah, potential wave W. Why? Because we have already taken out the lows here. We can't have this as a start of something. So instead, we would have this as some kind of a wave A. We had a couple of different ideas for this one, where we would have this as an wave A, three-way pullback into the lows of around November 2020 or 20th, and then we would be looking for that C wave. Again, locally we have some issues here, but we can talk about those later on. Pivot points would be these A wave highs here with the ending diagonal in here, and some issues in here, but again we can talk about those later. The other scenario is that instead of A being up in here, we would have it here, just shifting it here, and instead we would have this as an ABC, just because again this structure over here looked so much like a 5-way structure. This is still a possibility. This gives us a bit different invalidation targets for the downside, because this A wave here is shorter than it would be in here. So in here we would be looking at 14,968 on log, and on this one 14,097. So a couple of different ideas. Which one is going to be playing out, or is any of them going to be playing out? Well, we'll see. This whole thing probably would be invalidated at these highs, because again I'm thinking that this would be a start of a structure, this wave A here, for this count. Unlike in this count, we would have this as an ending something. So indeed this B wave would be already in place, and now we'd be looking for that C wave up in here. So that's the difference between these two, and how much this one minor degree change here is going to be affecting at least the outcome of those. Then we had a different count overall, where we had this as a W, X, Y, X, Z. Here on logarithmic scale, it looks decent. I generally don't like to be labeling these, but here it kind of fits. 1.618 extension, this is comparing again, this is actually looking for the wave Y here. Let's see, it should be pivoted from here. I think I was actually looking at in, okay, that is not making any sense. Probably need to have the 0.618 here. There we go. Now we're there. So 0.618 extension of this wave W in comparison to this wave Z, and that's how we are looking for the minimum targets for here. 0.618 as well. No idea what this is again. Let's take a look at that again. There we go. This should be the right one. I don't know where those guys came from. So 1-to-1 here on extensions of this ABC here, and 0.618 comparison to this wave W against this wave Z. So minimum targets are met, and now this count is suggesting that, okay, this is actually the end of this whole correction. Whether this is the end of the correction that, whether this is this end of the whole correction is not confirmed, but it should be the end of this move that we are observing here. Now we could have another pull up and then another pull down. That is definitely a possibility. This is only saying that, okay, this move would be done. Then of course the other one, both of these are valid. You can be labeling these both ways. The issue I have here is the third is kind of lackluster. Is smaller than wave 1 on price. On log scale we don't even get to the targets, 1.382. Fourth wave is fine, and then we would be looking for fifth wave. Fifth wave should be an impulse wave. So the issue that we have here currently is that we need to be having some kind of potential diagonal in here, or some impulse wave downwards, because again, wave 3 is not extended at all, so we could be expecting an extension on fifth. Now, I have a couple of different ideas here overall, where one of them is a leading diagonal into the lows that we have here, into the wave 1 of minute. Then we would have 3-way pullback into wave 2 up in here, 50% retracement, that is fine, and then having another 1-2 here. The reason why I don't have this as some kind of diagonal overall is because, again, it just does not resemble one. And yeah, that is basically it. I've seen some people are using this as the pivot point here for the wave 1. That is completely fine, and then you would be having to have this as an ABC as noted in here. But yeah, that is fine as well. 1, 2, that is completely doable. At that point again, this would have to be a 1, 2. Now what is making this case or this count a bit less valid or less probable, let's say that, is that wave 2 size in time is larger than the higher degree one. Even if we are pulling this guy or this wave 1 up into these lows that we have it, is quite a bit shorter than the wave 2 of smaller degree, which is definitely not something common. If we were to put the wave 1 up into these lows here, then we can be seeing that it gets even worse looking overall in time comparison. But that is some issues, but again, no invalidations like that. Or there's nothing invalidating anything there. Invalidation is at here only, which again, we could be seeing. Currently, we are right around the golden pocket of this move here for that wave structure to come down again. And as mentioned before, we had this as a 1-to-1 extension. So there is confluence here, even on these higher time frames, to see that we could be rising down. On RSI, again, we are having the 3-way structure. If this is not creating any kind of extensions here, we would be seeing this as just an ABC, potentially if we can find a 5-way structure into here. Now, I've said this before that we had quite a few issues here as well, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. Actually, this probably should here. Should be here, I think. Yeah, let's move it there. So I think I have the other counts here as well. Oops. Where is that? Here. I think I had a triangle in here. Let's make it sure that it is reasonable. There we go. Okay, but it still is larger. Moving on forwards, we had another one variation of this ending here, and this is again actually having this structure here as that triangle that just mentioned. Extension wise, this is pretty horrible as we know. Leading diagonal would be the largest wave basically, which would sound kind of ludicrous in my opinion, but yeah, it's just not great. It's possible though, but if we are starting to create a rally from here, where we are creating a 5-way structure, 3-wave and 5-wave at least, and I would be more thinking about the WXY, unfortunately. Otherwise, if we are just creating a 5-way structure, I would be more looking into this card and this guy here, where we'd have this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into that C wave, potentially taking out these lows, highs here. And of course, now we can be starting to imagine about our targets here as well. Generally, going beyond the wave A highs would be something that we definitely want to see. And this is probably the target that we want to be seeing as well. 1.618, it's kind of extended, but it's not too extended. This can definitely go well beyond the 2.236 all the way to 2.618 here. The first struggle, of course, would be the this guy over here, where we would be trying to get this structure first here, which would be around the 1.618. And this definitely needs to be turning into a potential 1-2-1-2 scenario here, if I see this having enough of juice going up. As mentioned, this is already around the 1-to-1 extension in price. Let's see if I can get those more closely. And around the 21.2k, we would have that 1.618. This would need to be going up quite a bit. And if we are just getting something like that done, we would be only creating a running flat. And then we would have just a regular looking impulse wave here. So we would need some kind of extension here, probably extension on this 3rd wave to get to that 2.618 extension if we want to really have this structure going. This can be established by having this as a potential 5-way move as well, where this would be a 1-2, 1, 2 structure, and then 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5, then we would be having the possibility of getting into these. Of course, we could have just a 1.618 extension here, coming back, and then we would have an extension on 5th. This could be happening when people are, again, getting that FOMO structures in, thinking that, okay, this bear thing is over, and we would be again starting something new until again we are getting more resistance into here, or even here, up in here, with a very much extension. But if we are again getting that high, we can take a look at these counts again and evaluate if these are really realistic. Now, where were we? Local structures. Let's go to 1 hour. This was the primary that I had. This was the best thing that I could get in here, I think, as in the form of 3 waves. I've seen a lot of people are saying that we don't have overlap here on cash markets, or not in futures. So we have overlap here on futures. So we can't really have this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the futures market. But on the just the spot market, I need to say, yeah, spot, not cash. But yeah, we don't have the overlap here between these. So one thing we could be seeing is that we would have this as a 1, 2, some kind of 3 here, 4 and 5. To be honest, I'm not really a fan of it. But if we are continuing higher, we could be definitely going with that count. Now, I had also, just based on this being a 3-way structure, I was looking at this being a start of something new to the downside. We took out this high, so we can't have this as the start of something. Instead, we need to be having it as an end of something if we still want to be having it as 5 waves. We had this divergence here, which would again tell us more that, okay, this is a end of a 5-way move. But there is also a possibility where we have this as 3-way pullback and then 3. On RSI, it is not there. It is not there, unfortunately. But sometimes these things happen and you can't make up the market the way you want. And unfortunately, on this scenario, I would have to be saying not ABC, but WXY, sorry. There we go. That this has potential of having it like this. Now, whether this is going to be an A, B, and looking for that C wave, or this would be a 1, 2, 3, we don't know of that yet. At the moment, I'm still labeling it as such as an ABC for now. However, if we are going beyond the 1.618, which would be taking out these highs here, around 21.5k, then we can start to talk about the more bullish structures, especially the ABC that we were looking at and that we've been looking at. But until that happens, really, I'm not really expecting too much of it. I had a count here, which was the impulse count. In this one, again, we had the expectation of this being an A, B, and then looking for C. So let's build a new count in here. I have it here, actually. So let's put these guys back in here and use this as the ABC mold. So overall, what I got is that now we have this as 5 waves, 3-way pullback, and now looking for higher. Let's see if we can move these guys over. This would be this color. This is nothing. This would be more local structures. So overall, what we would have is a wave 1 from the lows here, wave 2. If we are looking at RSI again, we'd be looking for from here these lows. We would have this as a diagonal into the end. I think we need to go smaller time frame to see these. Have that divergence here at the top, and then wave 2, quite a large correction into the very lows of RSI, and then we would be bringing us a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 into these highs, like I've labeled it here. The reason why I've got the wave 2 here instead of here is based on RSI, because this is again lower. We do have divergence here, which is again saying that, okay, we could have this as a three-way structure like so, where this would be a wave 1 and this would be the wave 2. We could establish this as the wave 3, but again, overall does not really matter. Wave 2 would be here in any case. It just changes the expectations of that third wave here. And if we have it like so, wave 3 is not really getting anywhere. In here, we're not meeting the 1.618 either. So does it really matter? I'm not sure. Either way, highest RSI is there on this top of third. Then we would have a three-way pullback into that wave 4. And now we'd be looking for another pull up higher, creating that divergence for the fifth. And more locally, we did have this divergence here, ending this count. And now we'd be topping the third of sub micro, and then looking for that fourth of sub micro. We'll see how long that is going to be taking. It could be actually taking quite a long time here. And we can see where our maximum basically is. Maximum being basically below the previous wave 4's lows. So again, that is something that we don't want to be taking out. At the moment, it definitely looks like we are not going to be getting that large of a correction unless this is turning into a first structure of that fourth. Again, generally we don't want to be making it smaller than the previous wave structure. Let's see which one of these. We could have it here. And we can see that 1-to-1 extension in time is already here, so we don't need to be considering this wave 4 time limited at all at the moment. Wave 2 in this section that we had was pretty simple, zigzag in my opinion. Not the best structure over here, but this kind of looks best as a three-way structure. So what we currently see is, let's see if this actually retraced enough for a B wave. It's slightly too small for a flat structure. We might need to be giving that the benefit of a doubt, having this 3 maybe. There is overlap between these two highs, or low and high. Yeah, which is not that good. So I was looking at this before as a potential diagonal into a wave A, then wave B, or wave B, and then 1, 2, 3. I did not see that overlap. And saying something like this would be pretty weird. Having two diagonals in same wave count is not very typical. Yeah, that is definitely fine. This is 3 waves, although it would be very shallow. But overall, what I would be expecting is whatever this comes across would be something like this. 18,640, around the previous lows that we had here. That would be my guess. And then I would be looking for, again, higher prices. That would be very small retracement on a wave 4. So it is definitely possible that we're going to get extension here. But we could also have this 3-way structure as the start of something, or basically start of that correction, then having a correction, correcting this structure, and then get a partner leg downwards. Then we would be getting around more comfortable to that 382 here. And again, only after that point we would be getting that 5th wave, which would be completing a 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So overall, I'm still seeing a couple of different highs here to be made at the moment, and just based on this structure over here, it is definitely possible. But I think that is pretty much the scenarios. I would be looking for, I'm actually short here, but I would be looking for long opportunities after this 3-way structure looks complete. And if we are getting some kind of 5-way structure down, I guess I could be accepting it as a flat coming down, and then looking for this some kind of pullback at least. Definitely keeping an eye on RSI as well. Based on the high timeframes that we are seeing, this move that we had is very, very small in price. However, RSI is acting very weirdly is almost saying that this whole correction is done, which would be very odd. I wouldn't expect it, although I'm expecting the correction here. So maybe that is what we're going to be getting. But for now, I think the ABC that we have laid out here overall is just fine as an expectation. If we climb up higher, then we can be starting to talk about the potential of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But for now, still expecting a few more highs to be made here, and we'll see if those are getting extended. Then we can start look for the higher degree wave 4, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think that is going to bring us to the end of this video on Bitcoin. If you again made it this far into the video, I would appreciate the likes. Link to my free Discord server in the description below. And for now, I thank you for watching and hope to see you on the next video. Bye bye.